All right, in this video, we're going to talk about another essential component of UX, and that's accessibility. So with accessibility, there's a number of different things that we have to take in consideration. Those who have particular limitations or disability, and we want to make sure that we do our best to, given our audience, we want to make sure that our application is accessible to a variety of different folks. And so here, go ahead and watch this video that W3C puts out. It's going to kind of introduce us to what is web accessibility and give us some more information about something called the Web Accessibility Initiative. The acronym for that is WAI, and some of the things that W3C is doing to advance or push the efforts in terms of making our applications a little bit more accessible. So pause this video and watch this video on web accessibility. All right, so there was a number of acronyms that were thrown out in this video. You may have seen the acronym of WCAG, which is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and that's where I want to focus our time and attention, is talking about what is the WCAG and the importance of making sure that our site achieves certain levels within the WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Before we do that, let's take a look at a few tools that W3C has put out. And you'll see that the goal of accessibility, or some of the principles that we want to follow, are these four that you see on the screen. That our application is perceivable, people can see and hear our content, or people can see and hear the content that we're sharing on our website, and that it's operable. People can type, or they can use by voice, and so they can input information. It's understandable and it's robust, right? Here's a cheat sheet that W3C puts out that helps you how do we meet some of these particular criteria or principles of perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And so, for instance, one may be, for perceivable, provide text alternatives for non-text content. And so one that we typically do for our HTML is that for our image tag, we're going to use an alternative text attribute or alternative attribute, and then give some description about the particular image. And so that's one easy way of meeting one of the particular principles of what W3C has set out for the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. All right, let's say a little bit more about what is WCAG, and then I'm going to introduce you to a tool called Wave, and how we can actually measure whether or not a site is accessible, and some of the things that we can do to make it a little bit more accessible. All right, so let's go ahead and click on this link here at the bottom. If you're not at this particular page, you can just go to this URL here. It's a cheat sheet that W3C puts out. That is they have a number of different cheat sheets that allows you to really just kind of boil down what's the essence of these particular principles, right? And so they have one for HTML, there's one for CSS, but this is a cheat sheet that I found from this particular website, which is the W3C website on web accessibility initiatives. So let's go back to this cheat sheet and let's click on this WCAG overview. And this is going to take you to a site of what you see here. The WCAG, there's a lot here, right? You can spend a good 3 to 4 hours just reading through all of the various guidelines. There's a lot of guidelines. To make it simple here, the current version we're on, or we're on the latest standard. The latest standards is version 2.0. Which is what you'll see here. And there's a quick reference guide in terms of how you can actually achieve some of the particular guidelines that they set out. So if you click on this quick reference here, it'll show you all the different guidelines. And it's broken up by the four the principles that we just saw in the previous slide: perceivable, whether it's operable, robust, and understandable. And then under each of these different principles, you'll find different things you can do to make your site accessible. And furthermore, there's different levels of criteria success. There's 3 different levels. There's level A, there's level AA, and there's level AAA. We want to do our best to try to at least meet level A, and possibly some of within level AA. And so here you'll see a AAA, which means sign language. Now, to achieve level AAA, that's really for a particular specific audience that need those additional guidelines to be implemented into the application. So if that audience needs sign language, you include that into the video recordings or the multimedia that you have on your application, then you would be meeting level AAA. But like I said, in most cases, if you're working for a company, you want to at least try to meet level A, and then possibly some of the things that you may find in level AA. I'm trying to find one for level AA here. So here is a level AA. Identify input purposes, and so this has to do with forms, and it'll give you more information about what that means. But nonetheless, our job would be to try to at least aspire to level AA. All right, so there's a number of different tools that we can use to help us measure whether or not we're meeting some of these particular guidelines. But before I do that here, one of the things that I'm going to have you do with every particular project in my class, if you do any particular coding assignment, is that I have you validate your work. So W3 validation, and one of the cool things about the W3 validation is that it actually implements some of these guidelines. So if you validate your work, you're aspiring to at least accomplish most of level A, if not some of level AA. And so just by actually inputting your text here into the validation tool and checking it and fixing all the errors, you're at least accomplishing level A and part of some of the things that you may find in level AA. And so always validate your work, and that is a good way to at least start with implementing implementing accessibility principles into your application, more specifically into your HTML and CSS. The next tool I want to show you here is one called the Wave Accessibility tool. And this tool here is, if you just Google Wave Accessibility tool, it's one of the first links that'll pull up. If you click on that particular link, you can put in a particular website URL. In this case, let's go ahead and put in Reactees and hit enter. And what this is going to do is it's going to basically do a site evaluation and to see how accessible your site is. And it's going to offer some suggestions. It's going to give you some feedback. So here you'll see the summary of this evaluation. There's 3 different errors that I can fix. There's some alerts that I want to pay attention to. They're not necessarily bad, but at this moment they're not an error, but there's some things I can actually fix here. There's some structural elements. There's some ARIA roles, and I'm not going to talk about ARIA roles in this video, but ARIA roles allows people who will have screen readers to better navigate your website. There's some features, the things that I've done well, the 4 features, and there's some contrast in terms of the color that I can improve within this website. So here, if we go to the details, it'll go into more detail about what are some of the errors in this website. And so one is I'm missing some labels, using the label element within my forms. So those are easy fixes. One is an empty link. I can just get rid of the link if I'm not using it. All right. So these are 3 easy errors that I can fix on this web page. There's some color contrast that I can fix. There's some people who are colorblind that may not be able to see certain colors on my website. And so those are some easy fixes here. And it'll show you the different places where you can actually make those corrections. Here it shows me some structural pieces. There's 22 alerts, right? I'm skipping the heading levels. So the heading levels is H1 through H6. And so what that means is that I'm skipping from, I'm using like a H1 and I'm going to immediately to like H4. And typically when you're using the heading tags, they don't want you to skip levels. And so if you use a H1, the next level down is H2. And so very small text in some places here. And then here's the things that I'm doing well, which are in green. I'm using an alternative text within my images, and so forth. And so again, a really cool tool that's free to use, and it really gets at helping your site meet some of the different guidelines that you'll see here on the W3C website, Web Accessibility Initiative. Let me say a little bit more about this website. If you can, I would say definitely spend some time. If you just click on the home page of w3.org, on the left here are the 4 major areas that W3C conduct their work in. One is accessibility, web security, privacy, internalization. And so if you click on accessibility here, right, this is the overview page for the Web Accessibility Initiative. I would invite you to spend some time in this area, and more specifically, I would say spend more time in the portion where it's like the standards and guidelines specifically for web content accessibility guidelines. So the Web Accessibility Initiative has different guidelines for authoring tools, user agents such as browsers, right? But more so, we're focused on those things that pertain to our website. So if you get some time, play around, browse through this website. There's a lot here, right? There's some videos, if my memory serves me correct, that dives a little bit deeper into some of these different initiatives. So, all right, I'm going to end this video. In the next video, we'll finish off by talking about what is wireframing, what is low fidelity versus high fidelity wireframing. So stay tuned for that video.